Hello. The skin lightening industry in India has grown to more than $500 million, even though the country passed laws restricting ads for skin lightening creams a few years ago. Advertisements featuring the brightest stars in India encourage women to lighten up, to get jobs, win men and be successful. Skin lightening is big business in India. According to the World Health Organization, more than 60% of skincare products sold in India are skin lighteners. And one needn't look further than India's bustling Bollywood film industry to see India's skin tone preferences. As the face of India's biggest movies, fair-skinned actors are plastered all over the country and movie screens. Indian television network NDTV tackled the issue in an episode of the hidden camera show, What's Your Choice?
Have you seen my brother? He's so fair and nice. You look like a dust on him. What is this happening?
The cafe goers stood up for the dark-skinned woman.
Please, this is really not public. Yeah, it's not color.
Yes, I understand, but it's
really ugly.
no. This is
Can you not do this fair white?
Would you get married to a black man, or would you get?
Highlights a pervasive prejudice in Indian culture. So-called dusky women just aren't considered desirable. But a campaign in India called Dark is Beautiful wants to change that mindset. Activists hope to draw attention to the unjust effects of skin color bias and celebrate beauty and diversity of all skin tones. They hope by highlighting the negative effects, they can change the culture in India.
Let's celebrate 1.2 billion shades of beautiful.
Say no to skin color discrimination. Dark is beautiful.
Joining me now is award-winning Indian director and actor Nandita Das. Nandita is an outspoken activist for that Dark is Beautiful campaign. Nandita, thanks so much for joining us. It's an honor. Why is India so obsessed with this light is good, dark is bad sort of mentality? Where does all this come from?
I don't think it's only an Indian phenomena. I think it's in many parts of the world. It's in Africa, it's in Latin America, it's in various countries in Southeast Asia. I don't know whether one can blame the colonization and the Western world's dominance on, defining what is beauty and therefore being light-skinned. You call it light-skinned, here we call it fair, as if that is the fairer thing. And you call dark skin pale, but we really call it dark and black and all of that. So I think this obsession, I don't know, is it to do with caste system? Is it to do with colonization? Is it something that's just existed for centuries? But I know that it has just gotten from bad to worse. And I think I say that because there are far more products now than there were when I was younger. And I don't know whether they're just the products and the marketing companies, all these are they just cashing on the existing prejudice and making an extra buck, or it's just that with time, with globalization, with more consciousness about how one looks, that it has gotten worse.
Some people would say that these creams are just a sort of cosmetic and it's up to a woman or to make an individual choice. What would you say to that?
Well, I don't think it's only about that. I mean, the corollary or what you would relate to is that I'm sure in the Western world, white women want to be tanned. But it's not the same thing because it's not just another beauty product. If it was like a lipstick or even a hair dye where you want to look young, it's one thing. Here, being dark or the obsession with fairness is really associated with what you think of yourself. It's connected to almost your self-esteem. Because from the time you're a child, you're constantly being told you're dark and therefore you're not good enough. If you see all the ads, they're not about just saying that, okay, you become lighter skinned and you look beautiful. I would still say whether it's right or wrong, but it's a beauty product. But here, all the ads would say, if you're dark, you're not going to get a job. If you're dark, you're not going to get a lover. You're not going to get a husband. So it's all connected to who you are. And can you imagine in a country which is 90% dark, is my skin color, is actually made to feel small, made to feel unworthy, made to feel that you're just not good enough. And that is the big problem.
So is that true that the lighter you are, the more opportunities you get in Indian society?
Sadly, yes. I mean, in as much as generalizations work, but yes, largely I would say, and it's not only with, say, being an actor or being a model or even being a news reader or anything that requires you to look sort of good, whatever, look beautiful, whatever that definition may be. It's now entered all kinds of jobs, even where you're not seen. I mean, people have done studies here where you have a dark girl and you have a lighter skinned girl for the same job, which doesn't require you to be beautiful. There are good chances that the girl with the lighter skin will get the job. I mean, I personally, because of having supported this campaign, I have experienced so many stories that people have come and shared with me. I myself know that when I called up a house help agency where, the woman who comes and cleans the house, as we are fortunate to have it here, which is, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad, because it's probably a modern day slavery. But when you call up a house help agency and they tell you, oh, well, we have one, but she's really dark. Would you take her? I mean, it's just such a bizarre, it's gone to some crazy heights. And I think the Western world is also complicit in this, because if you see all the big products that you have, which have their roots in France and Germany and England and America and Australia and all the Western white world, so to say, they all have now a whitening line. So it's not that there are only Indian products, because they just see an opportunity, they see a market, and they want to make the best of it.
So you've signed up to this Dark is Beautiful campaign. You're one of its biggest spokespeople. Why did you do it, and what change are you affecting through that?
I mean, to be honest, women's issues for me were the ones that had much stronger impact, in the sense basic inequality between men and women, that's part of patriarchy. It was about sexual abuse. It was about domestic violence. It was about female feticide. These were some of the issues that I was working more deeply on. When I got approached by this organization called Women of Worth, and this lady called Kavita Emanuel, when she called me up for this campaign, I thought, I mean, it is an important issue, and I thought I'll just support it. I'll give them a quote and a photograph, and that's all was needed. And I was shocked how it went viral. I did not think that this was going to be one of the sort of big issues that I was going to be championing, or that by default I will become the face of this campaign. But it just completely resonated with a whole lot of people. I think it had touched a very raw nerve. I didn't think it was a standalone issue, because I am very fortunate that my parents did not put this complex in me as a child or in my growing up years. But so many people are affected in such deeper ways, I think was a bit of a revelation even for me. Having known that this issue existed, having talked about it, but as one of the many things that one supports. But I realized later, when I supported this campaign, that this was much bigger than what I had imagined. And therefore, by default, many of the people think that I started this campaign, but I'm just a supporter of it. But I just said, a lot of the actors, female actors especially, are light-skinned. Even those who were sort of darker comparatively in their first film have progressively become lighter and lighter with every film, because of the demand and because of the pressures of what they think is beautiful. And that's why, by default, I have become the face of the campaign.
So how do you push back then against Bollywood and other Indian institutions that affect this sort of lightning as you go on through your career? How do you change that?
It's not an easy thing, because it's a very deep-seated prejudice. It's something that's really, like I said, has been there. Even when I was a small child, I remember some uncle or aunt would say, don't go out in the sun, you will become darker. Or, these days kids are really especially urban upper class or elite kids are deficient in vitamin D, because their parents don't want, not even actually upper class, middle class, across class, they don't want to send them out in the sun, because they will become dark. They don't want to send them to swimming classes because they'll become dark. Therefore, they're deficient in vitamin D. So it is a huge problem, and it's not going to sort of be turned around just by a campaign, but one can just create that awareness. At least the question has come into the public domain. There is a council that sets up, rules and regulations for advertisements. They have made stricter regulations for fairness creams and fairness products. So that's a good thing. There are some ads now, very few, but at least they've started coming, which are addressing this issue, or which are taking darker girls in their ads. But it's still on the surface. But I think at least the journey has begun. It's going to take some time, but I'm stopped literally in events on the street sometimes where people come up to me and say, thank you so much for supporting this campaign. It's given me, some strength. It's made me feel that I'm not, everything isn't lost for me. So I think in small baby steps, it's towards the right direction, I would say.
So is Bollywood taking on board what you're saying, or are they pushing back, or is it business as usual?
Well, it's pretty much business as usual, to be honest. I mean, there are still enough big superstars, both men and women, who are campaigning, who are endorsing these products, but that's so much about economics. And, it's not up to me or anybody to tell them what to do. They're aware of what it does, how detrimental it is. It's sad some of the darker actors who came in, who had a sort of more brown skin, have also supported this kind of a campaign. They've put in loads of makeup or done surgery or whatever. So it's sad, but they have to find their own place and they have to do it when they think it's right. But at least people are getting more and more aware. And we are seeing that in some of the films, that there is lesser makeup, or there are darker women who are getting a little bit of a place. Men have had it slightly easier. There have been darker men who have still made it to Bollywood. But I doubt if there are any women, literally any women, any woman who has actually remained comparatively darker in films. They've just always progressively become darker. In independent cinema, you would see a lot more darker skinned women. But, that's kind of pushed to the side. Independent cinema has seen something that's for festivals and that's for sort of more alternate markets. But in mainstream Bollywood, fair is still what sort of, rules the game.
Is it geographical? Because India is sort of main population centres and political power is in the north, and people in the south tend to be darker. Is that part of it, or also the caste system too?
Yes, I think both overlap. That largely people in the south are darker, although there are sort of pockets where they are very light skinned, they have light eyes, them like Mangalore and, a couple of other places. Also, like you said, it's a caste thing, because people who were the lower caste, they worked in the sun. So, they're genetically, they are darker skinned. People who were the upper caste, especially the Brahmins, who are the uppermost caste, they were the learned people. They were supposed to be the priests. So they had to, they were in the houses, in their homes, in the temples or whatever. So therefore, they are lighter skinned. So it does overlap even with class in many ways, because those who have more money, they're buying all these products, they're able to afford, surgeries, and there are lots of these laser clinics which are sort of mushrooming everywhere, which promise you that in 7 days will make you light, or in one sitting will make you light. It's really, if you look at the matrimonial ads, sadly that hasn't changed in the last 20 years, that I sometimes see them just to see if there are any differences in trends. And in matrimonial ads, it's always fair and lovely, homely, convent educated, those typical kind of things are always there. And fair and lovely is definitely, it's become almost like a tag. It's a product that came out in the early 70s, but now there are hundreds and hundreds. You almost cannot find a skin product that does not have a lightening component to it. It doesn't have to be a cream. It can be a face wash. How ridiculous is that? That something that you put on your face for 20 seconds is going to make you lighter. It's got, these waxing or whatever, like hair removing creams, underarm creams, moisturizers, even vagina washes, I believe, now have things that make you sort of lighter, your private parts, so that your husband can love you more, or some insane kind of ads that have come up. So it's really, it's gone to some crazy heights, but hopefully slowly and steadily we're trying to reverse it in our small little way.
Nandita Das, thanks so much for joining us and highlighting this really important issue of Shadism. Thanks so much.